What's up, y'all? It's Flux. And I'm back here. I got homebrew, but it's staying in the keg right now. So I'm just going to stick with the beats. Wanted to do a video on effects chains relating to gritty drums and interesting drums as a whole. I talked about it before. Now I'm going to show some different techniques to do it in today's world. To do it using plugins, things of that nature, without going really deep into the other side of it, which is, you know, the actual sampling side of it, and running it through all kinds of different things that people might not have. I'm going to stick to mostly really cheap plugins or plugins that come native, you know, things of that nature. Because realistically, you don't need to spend a lot to get a gritty sound, because that's kind of the point of gritty, is that it's lo-fi. So, I got some vinyl back here. I'm going to sample up a drum beat, and I'm going to show you different sounds, how it sounds the old school way, and how it were to sound if you were to just sample it normal. Something you might want to know is Doom is a beast. Doom is a beast, but you can't count Tony Stark's down. So, even though Doom looks like he's got him, I'm telling you, Tony got them smarts. So, let's get into the vinyl a little bit. So I'm going to sample it two ways, okay? One is going to be regular. And then this one is going to be sped up, okay? Okay, so now we've got two samples on there. Doom, you gotta stop with that. Leave him alone. So what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna duplicate both samples so I have them as little scratch pads. Okay, so I've got them up on other pads just so that I can go back to that really quickly. Okay, so I've got two samples, same loop, but one was recorded in fast, one was recorded in normal speed, and I've truncated them to roughly about the same point. I looped them to make sure that, you know, that I had it right. So I've got the two samples, right? So I've got... And what I'm going to do first is, on the sample, I'm duplicating it. I'm duplicating each one to pad 16 on each group, just so that I have a scratch that I can grab that hasn't had anything done to it. What I'll do is I'll turn on the engine, okay, and turn that to vintage. I've got it on S1200, which I think we all know what that means. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch it down now, okay? Right now it's going to sound the same. And then I turn it off. Sounds pretty much the same. But when I pitch it down, minus 5.5 semitones roughly would be back to normal speed. Oftentimes I don't go that precise. I'll just go down -5 semitones and not do the 0.5 because I'm not trying to get into the same pitch always. You know, I'm usually making up my own pitches. So I'm going to hold down the pad and just turn the tempo knob, and that's going to pitch it down. Now if you listen to it, it's going to have this, you're going to hear a little bit of like weird kind of sparkling going on in the high end. You're going to hear some breakup and some distortion on it. That's that gritty SP1200 type sound. So Here's SP1200 mode, and I haven't pitched it down. Here's with it pitched down. Okay. Now, on the normal one, turn it on. Okay. Now, if I were to do this, watch this. I'm going to duplicate this pad real quick. I'm going to duplicate the normal one. I'm going to speed it up 5 semitones. Alright. Now, if I turn on SP1200 mode, and then pitch it down from there, it's not going to do anything. You see, you're not really going to hear it because you're not actually pitching down the original. So you have to start with something that's fast, or what you'd have to do is you can go into your mapping editor. Let me do this real quick. This might be a nice little trick for you guys to know. What I'm going to do is I'll go into sampling mode, okay, and I'm going to go to map, all right, and here you have your key note, all right, your root note, and I'm going to take this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Down 5 semitones right here. Now it sounds fast, just like the other sample, right? So this is useful if you're sampling from, let's say, YouTube or whatever else, or a CD or something. So, because I've dropped this down, dropped the root key down, it's going to play it faster when I hit the pad, because the pad is trying to play C3, which is actually pitched up. So now I'm going to put SP1200 mode on and turn it down. I'm going to pitch it down from there. Okay? So you're getting some more of that grit. Now let's compare the two. To me, the sped up sample sounds better when I'm doing this. You're getting a little bit more grit by doing the root note change, but to me it still sounds better with an actual sped up sample. And of course you can go down farther than that, you know. Let's take it down like 6. If I drop this one down a little bit more, you hear a lot more breakup once I get past that -5 too. The further down you go, the more breakup you're going to get from that vintage mode. That's how we used to do it, and the reason is just because we didn't have all that much sample time. You know, I mean, the SP12 did not have much sample time at all in it. Same with the MPC 60. So by taking less time to sample it, you know, you're speeding it up. You know, and then you slow it down, you're actually getting more sound for a shorter amount of time, but the quality degrades when you do that. So that's what that's all about. Anyway, so that's your A/B comparison on that level. Now let's get into the fun stuff. I'm going to name this old. And, okay, so I'm going to take this back to 5. So, I'm gonna I'll chop up some drums, and I'll throw some effects plugins and do some, I'm gonna do some stuff natively with Maschine, as a matter of fact, just so that you don't have to go out and buy anything, because it's always nice to not buy anything. Let's start with this. So first what I'm gonna do is I'm putting it on a new pad so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm actually gonna normalize this. So it's going to come through a little bit louder. It's just, you know, And then I'm going to take this, actually what I'm going to do first is I'm going to fade out the end of this. From here, fade out. So I got a little bit of that dirt on there from the little whistle sound. Alright, but not nearly as much. So, let's go ahead and affect this drum up a bit. And, matter of fact, I'm going to build a kit as I'm going. So I just put that where I would put my kick drum. I can go back to it later. Now, using Maschine, I can do lots of different things here. I'm going to turn on SB1200 mode. Okay. And what I'm also going to do, and okay, yeah, so I'm working with the original samples now. Okay. All right. We will go ahead and I'm going to use a little bit of drive, not a lot, probably like 7 or 8%. Sample rate down just a little bit. 6%. I'm not taking down much. %, just so that you can barely hear the bit reduction on it. In fact, I'm going to back it off just a hair. Alright, so I'm at sample rate 12%, bits 18%. And I'm going to resample this real quick. So I'm going to set my recording to internal, hit start, hit stop. There you go. So I've resampled that sound now. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to save what I just did to it. Okay, so that's coming through with a nice amount of oomph already. And I'm going to add a little bit of compression on here. %. Alright. I have it set to ADSR 48% release. Okay. And now getting into some of the built-in Maschine effects, what I'd like to put on here is a little bit of saturation, but what I'm going to do is take everything kind of all the way down and then build up from there. Okay. I'm going to resample it again. Take that saturation off. Fading out the end just a little bit more. Now, here's a little trick you can do, and I think you can do this with Guitar Rig Player. I'm not sure. You can do it with Mono Maker, lots of other plugins. I'm just going to use Guitar Rig really fast because it's super easy to use. And what I'm doing is I'm not loading anything. I'm just setting the channel. The input channel is going to be the right channel because the left channel has more of that whistle, and I don't want that, so I would just want mono drum. Now if I took the left channel, but instead I'm taking the right, there's a little bit less of that, alright? So again, I'm going to sample that. Now, of course, you could just leave your effects chains on there, but I like to actually affect the actual sample. It's just a way that I like to work, because a lot of times, one, I don't want to take up CPU, and two, I may want to save that sound exactly as it is, and if I want to give it to somebody, and say, hey man, check out these drums, I can give it to him and he doesn't have to have any of those plugins, or any of those settings. I'm going to normalize this. So now that thing is really cracking through. Set my release again. 48. So it's got this real raw sound to it, real gritty and dirty. Now I'm going to do the same, but this time I'll do it with the sped up sample. Okay, this one, I'll probably go for a slightly rounder approach with this one. So what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to set this to one shot. And this time, instead of using I think it's called a third pass bit crusher when you're using the sample bit crusher, I'm going to use the affected one. Let's take this 12 bits, and we'll take this down a bit to 22. Maybe 22.1, and I'll let you guys go out there and research what the significance of 12 bits with a 22.1 kilohertz sample rate is. And you can kind of play with the stereo and smoothing on. With the smooth all the way down, you're going to get more of the high end. Like I said, I wanted to go for a smoother, more rounded approach. So I'm bringing it up a bit. I'm going to leave the stereo up just because I like it that way. Now also, don't be scared to play with the mix amount too, because you don't always have to use a really intensive amount of bit crushing. I'm going to duplicate this pad real quick and just show you an alternative to this. I could turn my mix output down, let's say like 25%, versus... So it kind of gives you a little bit of best of both worlds on that level. I'll take it down real low and then crush it even more. 10 bits, about 12. So you can get different sounds, different amounts of snappiness in your sample, different amounts of punch. Alright? Now, let's say I don't want it as harsh as that other one, but I want it to hit pretty hard. So I want to get kind of close to it. I'm going to resample this. Add some compression. And in fact, what I'll do here, I like that East Coast old school over compressed drum sound sometimes when I'm getting real dirty with my drums. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use, it's a preset that I had already made up using the standard Maschine compressor, and it's just going to over compress the crap out of it. And then I'm going to resample it. take that one off. Alright. And let's see what else we want to add to it. Just kind of beef it up a bit. Now you can do things like add reverb tails to them, of course. You can even put in fake reverb by sampling off the tail of another sound and then kind of just splicing that into your sound and resampling it. Sometimes what I like to do is this. I'll take this kick, alright, and so now I've got two of the exact same kick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to filter one down. Add a little bit of compression. A little bit of drive. Sorry. Okay. And now of course you can use pad mode to link them. A lot of times I'll just hit it with 2 fingers. But alright. So now I've got these two stacked. I'm gonna resample that. So now I've got this big sample here. You can see how it's clipped. Okay? That clipping right there, generally speaking, is not something that you want. But if you're going for a certain sound, you can use it to your advantage. But for me, I don't like my samples being chopped up like that. That's about as far as I would ever take it. I wouldn't let them ever really get past that much clipping. But with Maschine, of course, you can undo quickly. I wasn't looking at my volume and turn it down a bit. I'm just going to turn the group down a bit and resample it. Okay, let's turn that group back to normal. Normalize it. Alright, so now I got this kind of dark, rounded kick that's still gritty. Great for like doing like your ghost kicks. Alright. Now something else that I'm going to do on here. Give it that old school trash can boom crack sound. So you got two different styles of drums there, both gritty. One more rounded, one more harsh. Obviously, depending on the track that you're doing, is going to really dictate what kind of drum sound you're making. If you want to go deeper into it with effects, why don't I just go ahead and affect this whole loop real quick. I'm going to go ahead and grab Decimort. And Decimort's great. I'll bring it up on the screen for you. What Decimort lets you do is basically it's kind of like a emulation box of different systems running in different ways. So that's that overdriven MPC 60 sound. Super lo-fi, and of course you can go into the presets on here. C64, gotta love Commodore 64. But the emulator, one of my favorites at EPS. Love that sound. So I'm gonna just use that real quick. I'm not even gonna tweak it. Why should I? It sounds great. Now that's an actual effect going on top of your sample, but it sounds great to me. So I'm gonna resample that to a pad. So I'm just gonna go into a blank pad, hitting record, start, and then okay. So now I've got that same sample. Let's go ahead and do that little guitar rig trick again real quick. And make it mono. Resample that. And from there, I mean, I can go ahead and add some effects. I know a good one. How about a little bit of Mulholland Drive and turn it way down. That is gritty. So now I'm going to resample that. Get rid of guitar rig now. Now it's got this beefy low end on it. And what I'll do with that is play with some presets for a little bit, get where I want to be. I actually like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and put this EQ on the drums, resample it, and then I can chop it up. So I'll slice that up. That's a pretty grimy, raw drum sample sound. That's pretty raw. Okay, so anyway, that's just kind of like the basics of getting into it. You can obviously go deeper, and there's a lot more you can do, but just to kind of show you how kind of easy it is to just get in there, start playing with some sounds, get it set so that you like how it sounds. Remember, each song is going to want to have its own drum sound. You don't want to use the same drums on everything. You don't want to have the same tonation on your drums every time. Sometimes you can take the same drum sounds and just tweak them just a little bit different, and it's going to work a lot better in your mix. So, anyway, peace. Tony, get at him.